So now this dude is telling me that, he's about to do some heroin. As a matter of fact, they're both about to do some heroin. So if you clicked on this video, chances are you're probably dealing with some form of this element touching your life, or maybe you're just curious, but either way, I'm just gonna get right into it because this is something that's just been on my mind for a little while. So I figured I'd get on here and just talk a little bit about it and my own personal experience on how addiction found its way into my life. Now, first of all, I want to say that this is not a video to judge anybody or make anybody feel criticized or anything like that. I'm simply just trying to share my experience because I know that this is something that not a lot of people probably talk about often, yet it's something that touches a lot of people's lives. This story really starts in 2019. That was the year that I decided to quit my job and go back to school to get my degree. There were some steps that I had to take, like retaking my SATs and going back to my old high school to get my high school transcript, right? Just those little preliminary things, but I had to take care of them if I wanted to go back to school. It was smooth for the most part, saw some of my old teachers. I could relate to them more on like an adult level rather than just like a student teacher kind of dynamic. And I was feeling good. I got my transcript and I was out of there, it was a regular day. So I was on my way home. When I got back to my old neighborhood, I ran into an old friend that I went to elementary school with. And just for the sake of this video, we'll call him T. Back when we were kids, man, he had some issues. There may be some people who know who I'm talking about, so I really won't get too specific. But he had some issues, went through certain things like being bullied, being isolated, and admittedly, I didn't do much to mitigate that experience for him, at least not at first. That did change, and eventually we had forged an acquaintanceship, and we were cordial. We were cool as kids can be. Throughout high school, he continued to get into trouble, more trouble than what would seem to be normal at the time, because most of us were just trying to mess around with girls and just, chill shit like that. Go to the movies, get some clothes, regular stuff, bro. But this dude was getting into BB guns and falling in with the wrong crowds. He started robbing people at one point, got caught for robbery. So, that was early on. This is still high school. By then, we had went our separate ways. We had went to different high schools and we were living different lives. But on this particular day, right, I was feeling good. I had my transcript in my backpack and I knew that I was on my way to taking the next steps to getting enrolled into college. I bump into this dude and we're having a regular conversation. I mean, as regular as it can be when you bump into somebody that you used to know and y'all were used to be cool. We would play at the playground, regular. I tell him what I've been up to. I tell him, that I'm on my way back from my high school because I'm about to go back to school. And he telling me how he been out in California, riding motorcycles, living life. He invites me to his place. Cool, you got your own place, bro? That's dope. For sure, I'll come through, check out your spot. I'm thinking it's gonna be smooth. He tells me to come by later on tonight. I think he was on his way to go do something. Come by 7 p.m., 7:30. I'm like, all right, cool. It's 1 in the afternoon. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll go home, shower, relax, link up with you in a couple hours. Couple hours pass by. I link up with dude. He lives in this apartment building, but it's one of these new apartment buildings because they have been gentrifying my old neighborhood, right? A lot of apartment buildings, brand new. Right? Affordable housing, the type of stuff that you need to be selected for a lottery to get. I go up in the spot, greeted by the doorman. I go in the elevator. It's real chill so far. I'm not thinking anything out of the ordinary. I get off on the floor. I go up to his door. I think I text him or whatever, and he opens up the door. Everything is cool. And he greets me. I come inside. He's already drinking a glass of wine. I'm thinking, oh, okay, my boy's just chilling right now. So then he gives me this little tour. Tour starts off super regular. I mean, he shows me the view. I'm looking out at my old neighborhood from this perspective that I ain't never seen before. You know, we up on like the 12th or 13th floor. The city's looking beautiful. He shows me all his furniture, everything's cool. Then we move over to his sleeping area, and he has this little wooden box near his bed, like on his nightstand. So, you know, he tried to do it like in a comical way, or I guess he thought it was comical. You know, let's say, just for sake of the conversation, he's like, oh, these are my linen sheets that I got when I was vacationing here, or, you know, this is my porcelain sink, this is my marble sink, whatever. And then he points to the box and he goes, and this is my personal drug supply. Bro, what? I'm waiting for the punchline. Bro, what did you just say to me? I was in disbelief. I didn't say anything. That's not my flow. You know, I was like, I've been actively staying away from things like that all my life. So now here I am, effectively have been lured. You know, I was brought here on false pretenses. So immediately I'm on 10, right? My guard goes up. He opens up the box. Yes, he was serious. I mean, he had everything in there. Everything. He had pills. Everything, bro. He had everything. But what stood out to me, he started describing what he said was the purest heroin that you could buy on the East Coast. And I think he called it China White. I don't know what heroin looks like. It was like a little bag. It was like tan. I don't even, you know, it was crazy. My head is spinning. His brother, oh yeah, his little brother. How could I leave that part out? Let's, for the sake of the story, let's call his little brother A. So T and A are there, and the situation just got tense for me. So now this dude is telling me that, you know, he's about to do some heroin. As a matter of fact, they're both about to do some heroin. And dude had the audacity to ask me, mind you, I'm somebody who, at this point, I've only ever smoked weed. Maybe I tried shrooms at this point, you know, but hard drugs, that's not my flow. So dude asked me, he's like, do you want to try some? Nah, bro, I'm good. You go ahead though. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm ready to fight. Because I'm like, what's about to happen? Are these dudes about to try and like hold me down and like force me to do heroin? Like, you know, mind you, I'm in his place. I've been lured here under false pretenses, and now I'm staring at a pile of heroin. So he measures out the heroin for the both of them, right? T measures out the heroin for the both of them. And these dudes proceed to do heroin. I never seen nobody do heroin before. And I never wanted to see anybody do no damn heroin. So after they get high, they start, you know, I don't know, they start, I guess, doing what you do after you get high on heroin. You know, they're just zoning out. They're bugged out. The rest of the night was trippy, you know. He starts giving me a tour of the rest of the entire apartment building. You know, we go down to the gym. We're like in the weight room, and we're just like, I'm trying to stay as level-headed as I possibly can at this point. Whole time, my fight or flight reflex was just on super high alert. His little brother A was way more messed up than T was. And it was just a crazy experience, you know. I never thought I would be in a predicament like that. I didn't even really mention this before, but this guy, T, he was a really smart guy, man. He was one of those kids, you know? He was really smart. I mean, very intelligent. His little brother was too. I didn't know him too well, but So at the end of the night, before I leave, I make it a point to pull T to the side, because I wouldn't be me if I didn't. And I just let him know, I'm like, hey bro, I'm worried about you. You know, I see you, doing your thing, and this is what you want to do. I know you're a smart guy. He starts explaining to me how his aim is, I don't even remember. It was bugged out. Like, he was basically trying to tame heroin. It was like a challenge to him. This is the most psychoactively addicting drug on the planet, right? I guess this was like before fentanyl. This is like the most psychoactively addictive drug. And his goal was to tame the beast. As soon as I said that, that I was worried about him, he got super defensive. The look on his face kind of changed a little bit. And he started rolling up his sleeve. And then real passive aggressively, he was like, do you see any tracks? Immediately, I threw my hands up. I wasn't trying to go there with him. I wasn't trying to do any of that. Okay? Because I already knew where he was going with it. And it was not my intention to confront him, to have an intervention, none of that. I just threw my hands up. And I'm like, all right, bro. I'm like, you got it. I'm not about to argue with you. None of that, bro. And I left. Man. I went home. I rolled me up a joint, and I was just thinking about it for the rest of the night. It's like, damn. Then he started texting me. He started texting me some crazy stuff like, yo, I appreciate your concern, but I just want to reiterate that my aim is not, I don't even know what he was saying. He was trying to explain his goal in using heroin to me. I never responded to him. I never spoke to him again. A couple months later, I found out from one of our mutual acquaintances that his little brother fucking died. The family was claiming that it was a case of bad pneumonia. But I immediately knew the truth. I mean, they were both addicted to heroin. And I don't think T saw that coming, because as far as I understand it, he was the one who introduced his little brother to heroin. It's just an all-around, very sad, very tragic story. Again, this is not to judge anybody or criticize, anybody's lifestyle, anything like that. I just wanted to come on here and share my personal experience with how addiction, found its way into my life. We all have vices. We all deal with different things. Like me, for example, I've been trying to stop smoking weed for a little minute now. I mean, I haven't been smoking for a few months now, just because I'm in such a different place in my life where I'm super focused on, that was a nasty pothole. I'm super focused on getting to the next level. The whole reason why I'm telling this story is because all of this occurred before I even enrolled for real into college. This was me still trying to cover the prerequisites just to be considered for enrollment. And now, as I tell this story, I'm in my last semester. So I was just thinking about the beginning of this journey. That's how my journey really started off. I wanted a change of direction in my life, and I ran into an old friend who really wasn't doing much with his life. And now here I am coming to the finish line in my college journey, about to get closer to my goals. And this dude lost his little brother. and it was easily preventable. Life is really a trip sometimes. T is still around. I'm not sure what he's up to. I think he had got married. I don't know if he ever got cleaned up or what, but he got to live with that for the rest of his life. And I'm sure he thinks about it every single day. His little brother. I think about it a lot too, because I tried to tell him. Maybe I didn't try hard enough. Of course, that thought crossed my mind sometimes too. But honestly, I didn't spend a lot of time trying to blame myself. Trust me, I know that had nothing to do with me. I did my part. I tried to tell him. I told him one time. And after that one time when he shrugged me off, I wasn't about to try and tell him any more than that. And I knew I immediately had to cut ties with dude because I'm not that type of person, bro. I'm sorry. I'm not that type of person that could be holding on to people who are addicted to drugs. I can't deal with that type of pain. Nope, not me. I had to let him go. It wasn't hard for me because I'm so, goal-oriented that I just understood immediately that I couldn't have somebody like this in my life. I couldn't have somebody like this that has access to me. I think about my own journey with addiction. And again, just in terms of smoking weed, I've been so focused lately on my physical health and fitness. I've been so focused on elevating my life. Like with this YouTube channel, for example, I've been working really hard to grow this channel and have it become, something very fruitful for me in my life. And when I think about all these things, it's hard because sometimes I definitely, and now, especially now that weed is legal, right? I come from a time where, as many of us do, you had to buy weed from whoever was available. But now it's legal. You could walk into any recreational spot and pick up whatever your thing is, whatever you want. So the temptation is always there. But it's like, when I think about all my goals, when I think about what I want my future to look like, it's hard every time I get the urge, but thinking about all those things, all my goals, it really helps me to resist. Obviously, I'm not going to compare smoking weed and dealing with that to heroin addiction. But for what it's worth, I do think that I can empathize with the feeling of having to fight a temptation every day because it's just there. It doesn't dissipate. Sometimes it's easier to ignore it than other times, but it's just always there underneath it all. As I'm drawing closer to the finish line of my final semester in college, I just think about how this journey got started. I think about what has driven me to keep going. I'm sure a lot of us who are trying to improve our lives and reach our goals, we're often reminded of where we come from because of the people that we knew from previous parts of our lives, right? I guess that's a part of this shared human experience. And if you're dealing with something, you want to change, you don't need to wait for anybody's permission. You don't need to seek anybody's approval. Make the changes for yourself and just keep going. It might get hard sometimes, but in the end, I know it's going to be worth it. I'm going to keep putting in work with this YouTube channel because I really want to turn it into something meaningful for my future. To anybody else who is either dealing with addiction themselves or dealing with a loved one who's deep in it right now, I'm just sending you strength. I'm just hoping that that person can find their way back to themselves before they lose something precious to them. That's really it, Life is crazy, but it's really just all about decisions. Every day we have a set amount of decisions that we can make to either get closer to our goals or drift further away from them. So I really felt compelled to make this video. You know, this isn't for like likes. This is really just to put something real out into the universe. If you made it this far into the video though, we're connected, you know? You must have resonated with some part of what I had to say tonight. I wish everybody the best, and I wish everybody success, good fortune with all of your goals, all of your desires. Let's keep striving. Thank y'all for tuning in, man, and I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace.